It's still Edu 360, the second edition, 3 days of ensuring you get the best of the stakeholders and all the people who have, in one way or another, contributed to the industry, or should I say, to the sector of education. Education Beyond Walls is the theme for this year, and we are very well on the way. It has been so far so good in the Edu 360 campus. So there you have our moderator, Seun Omotosho. He's the head digital and business ventures at Union Bank, and of course he's been charged with the responsibility to facilitate transformation by driving investments in digital ventures. He has over 15 years experience driving motivation with telecommunication companies like MTN, Etisalat, and Airtel. And I think somewhere along the line he must have interacted with one app or another. Too many. Okay, so please do take your seats. And of course, audience, again, thank you very much for the time you're taking to be here. I'm sure we could all be somewhere else, but I think education, we'll all agree, is very key and very important to us all. I would like to call on one of the speakers on the panel, or the panelists this afternoon, in the person of Lola Cardoso, a successful strategist and innovative thinker with over 20 years of experience leading strategy development, driving innovation, and creating transformative change in corporate, startup, and public sector organizations. Currently the Chief Digital and Innovation Officer at Union Bank, and she's very, very responsible for driving and executing the bank's digital strategy in line with the bank's ambitions to be Nigeria's most reliable and trusted banking partner. Thank you very much for being... You didn't actually have a choice. You had to be here, actually. So we have Lola Cardoso here. And then we also have Edwin Ajogun, the Programs Manager, Passion Incubator, who is here. Unfortunately, we had Taiwo Ajetunmobi, who was meant to be here but couldn't make it, unfortunately. So thank you to Edwin Ajogun for stepping up. So Edwin is a tech project manager, serial entrepreneur, and startup mentor. He's a graduate of the Obafemi Awolowo University and has been involved with 5 early stage startups. 2 were while he was still in university, and specializes in priming a startup to be ready for its first investment. He's led the first attempts at the disruption of the healthcare space in Lagos, creating one of the first virtual distribution of pharmaceutical products. He currently mentors over 12 startups across sectors like the fintech, agriculture, and mobility at Passion Incubator. Thank you very much for being here. Round of applause to him, please. We also have on our list Omowale David-Ashiru. Who is the country director at Andela Nigeria, a company that builds high-performing engineering teams by investing in Africa's most talented software developers. Before joining Andela, Omowale's professional career included a decade-long stint as Accenture, where she started as an analyst and grew to become a seasoned management consultant, business process, and of course interim HR lead and a certified project manager. Thank you very much also for being here. She has a deep passion for inspiring people and has a mentoring circle specifically for young ladies. So if you're a young lady here, let me hear you say yeah. Wow. If you're a young man, let me hear you say yeah. Okay. Great to have everyone here. We also have okay, I think that's Omowale David-Ashiru. Okay, she's already there. So we're good. Peace Bamidele is the CEO and lead consultant of Mark Willows Consultant Limited, a specialist education consulting firm that plans and executes educational development projects and programs in Nigeria and Africa. And Peace has birthed countless educational initiatives such as the Lagos Teachers Conference. She's also the convener of the Soft Skills Conference for Educators. His new book titled The Missing Link of Education is generating lots of interest and impact in the education space, and we're hopefully looking forward to sharing more of that knowledge with us here. Great to have you with us. So over to you, our moderator. Once again, a round of applause to all our panelists, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. So good. Good afternoon, all, and I'd like to welcome you once again to Edu 360, Nigeria's foremost gathering of teachers, parents, school leaders, educational enthusiasts, industry leaders, and influencers. As you know, this program was put together by Union Bank, and I would like us all to give a round of applause to Union Bank. So, coming from the previous panel, which focused largely on history, we're now going to be looking into the future, and I think I like the way it's planned. Right, so this topic is one that is dear to my heart. I usually have a lot of discussions with Lola about it and what the future of work will be. And the topic really asks the questions, are you going my way? Because with the way technology is going, who knows where each of us will land. So I think it's a good one. But the basis for our discussion is really around a report that was written on the future of work by Passion Incubator. This is a really loaded document that looks at how technology is influencing the future of work, the workplace. So I'm going to take some excerpts from the report before we start. The first one that really hit me looking at that report was something that said 80% of the institutions and even SMEs today believe that technology is going to play a significant role in the workplace of the future. The topic really for us is to look at how the workplace and career are being disrupted by emerging technologies. And according to this report, the impact of technology on human behavior will shape the demands of that employees make of their employers and the expectations that they have of each other in the workplace. It's going to be an interesting discussion, and without further ado, and plenty grammar from me, I think we'll just start on the technology piece. And I'm going to put this question to you, Omowale. With the kind of things that you've seen in Andela, you are at the forefront of technology. These forces that we're talking about that are going to shape the future of the workplace, things like increasing integration in artificial intelligence and automation. Can you tell us a bit more about it and how it's manifesting and probably how it will manifest?
Right, thank you very much. Thank you to Union Bank for inviting me and having me here. I believe education is the most important thing that we should be looking at in Nigeria and in the world, so I'm really glad that Union Bank is at the forefront of this. I feel like we're in a debate because, the previous session is about history and humanity, and, Mr. Shashore is my uncle, Bibi Shashore is my brother-in-law, so they are speaking about history, humanity, and I'm here to talk about the apps and technology. Okay, but for me, it's the way I see it. There are a lot of scary things about technology, but the way I see it is we're already there. So we can either deny it or continue to, push against it, or be ahead of it. Knowledge is power. Information is the most powerful thing that you can have. And so for me, it's about knowing where technology is going and how we as Africans, Nigerians, can be at the front of it. So how is technology, AI, and all of that changing the workplace, what we do? I think I'll look at it in three different ways. It's changing how we do work. It's changing the way the workplace looks, and it's changing the kind of jobs or work that we actually have. So how we do work. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was telling them that, when my mom was working and in the bank, she had, this big calendar I don't know how many people, know what I'm talking about, or still use that. Big calendar on the wall, with all the dates, and here, this is where I'm going to. Some people are nodding, some old school people are nodding. But she had that. And she used that to do her work. But now, I have this. Many people have these watches. My calendar is here. It's giving me a reminder now that I should be leaving. My whole calendar is here. Wherever I am, I know exactly what I should be doing when I should be doing it. So the way we're working, the tools we're using, it's changing everything. I met a young guy in the US recently. He works at Amazon. And we were just talking, and he told me about the robots in his office. How many people here have seen a robot? The ones that look like human beings. Okay, so maybe like 2 people. The way this guy was talking to me, the robot was like his friend. Because he was telling me about their office, the robots are just walking around, just like human beings. They get things from the shelves, all the packages. How many people are familiar with Amazon? Okay, so you know Amazon. So all the storage and all of that, the robots are the ones bringing the things, delivering it to the shelves. And then I watched a video of an Amazon delivery. And in 23 minutes, they're using drones now to actually go and deliver the products. So we're not using dispatch and freight and all of that. A drone takes it there in 23 minutes from the time the person ordered. So how we're working is changing. What about how the workplace looks like? Part of what technology is bringing to fore is the fact that you don't even need a physical building. I'll talk about Andela. Andela has, we have offices in Egypt, Ghana. We have in about 6 countries in Africa. But we run a full office of about 130 people in Ghana and Egypt without a physical building. That's the future of work. It's remote. So people are also doing work without actually having buildings. And that has brought, a lot of co-working spaces and things like that. The last one, which is actually the scariest, is the extinction of many jobs. And I say it's scary because there's a lot of debate as to what is going to happen to human beings. And there's so many examples. We have self-driving cars. Many people know that already. So you have all the drivers there wondering, what will I be doing next? Let me bring it home. We have shop assistants, tellers. So I saw there's a digital shop where you go in, there's no single human being. You put something, it tells you what aisle it's in, a robot brings it in, you pay by putting in a machine and all of that. You do everything without a human being. No shop tellers, no assistants, things like that. Now you may say, okay, those are the blue collar jobs. What about, the ones that need the intellect and learning, like Mr. Shashore said? And I just saw something recently about where they were warning radiologists. Do we have any radiologists here? Okay, thank God. But very important people. But, this was scary because they did sort of like a test between a radiologist. So what a radiologist does is, if you have an X-ray, a radiologist will take the X-ray and basically, just interpret all of that. And so they had a radiologist, a human being, and an algorithm, AI, go through X-rays. And the algorithm was able to go through about 650 X-rays in about, I can't remember, maybe less than an hour. Of course, the human being would take about 5 days, and the results were more accurate by the algorithm. And so, basically, a lot of jobs won't exist in the next 20, 30 years because of technology. I'll stop there now. I don't want to scare everyone, but I'm just saying the world is changing, and we have a choice to know how it is changing, because at the end of the day, these apps, these technologies are still built by technologists, by people. So when you have those skills, so things like digital literacy is not optional. There's almost no job. It's the same thing as literacy, really. Because when you talk about literacy, in the future, your literacy being digital is implied. Even drivers now need to know how to use Google Maps, right? So I'm just saying that the world is changing. We need to get ahead of it, and we do that by education.
Very good. Thank you very much, Omowale. I really love the insights, and that you even ended with saying that it's changing and we need to get ahead of it. So I'm going to take the next question to you, Edwin, and this is really because of the work that you've done on the report on the future of work, and I'd like to also use this point in time to talk about the fact that this work was supported by Union Bank, so we should give Union Bank another round of applause. So my question is really about the expectations that employees and employers start to have of each other in this future world.
Okay. First of all, it's always a pleasure to. At Passion Incubator, we work a lot with Union Bank, so this is a pleasure to be here. So we can attest to the fact that Union Bank is one of the most forward-thinking banks that we know of. I mean, we've interacted with a lot of institutions, and I can tell you for a fact that Union Bank is way, way, way ahead of everybody else, and it's a wonderful thing. It's good that we are, like you said at the beginning, we are looking at the past, we're looking at the future, we're trying to figure out where we fit in at the point in time. Unfortunately, she has made like 95% of my points, so I have to come up with new ones. The future of work is digitization, virtualization, automation, intelligence, driven by machines. That is inevitable. If we cannot rely on our history, or we can't rely on what we were doing 20 years ago and teach that and expect that it will be relevant in the next 20 years. It's just not possible. The West has shown us this. They've gone ahead of us, so it's up to us to either accept the fact, like you said, or die. Educationally die, right? So now, I think Union Bank can even attest to this. The future of work is... The future is, I don't even know why we didn't call it the future, because it's already happening now. I mean, even I can tell you, I don't know, I'm not privy to Union Bank's books or budget, but I can say with a lot of confidence that the amount of money they earmark for investment in technology now is way more than they did 20 years ago, right? Good. So that just gives you an idea of what exactly is happening right now. I mean, I was speaking to a staff outside there, and we were talking about how they were already, they've already started shutting down some of their physical stores for favor of using vendors and favoring their online applications that will enable users to be bank virtually, right? So this is what's going to happen, okay? In the future, what we see, what we discovered from our when we were preparing the report was that employers and employees, in the future, there will really be no place to hide anymore. I mean, nowadays, as an employee, you can go to work, you can faff around for like 10 to 15 minutes, and you can get away with it, right? But in the future, we're going to have a situation whereby everything is much more deadline driven, much more technical, much more expressive, innovative. You need to be able to think on your feet. You need to be able to, as an employee, you need to be able to basically assess situations quickly and reach your goals as quickly as possible using every tool that you know of. So you need to know a lot of tools, right? I mean, I was speaking to someone, and I remember then they were asking me about what tools you use for data visualization. I was talking about Excel and everything, and nowadays people are using Power BI, and this is like just like 5-6 years where I was aware of Power BI, and Power BI is like becoming the in thing now for data visualization. While some of us like me, which I will say I'm saying a bit we are backward in some areas, I'm still using Excel, right? So you need to be, as an employee in the future, learning is a continuous process. Learning has to be something that you do by yourself, for yourself, and you can't escape it. You have to be continually plugged into the information that's available in the web. You have to be able to know how to use devices. You have to know how to not just use devices, but manipulate them. We are moving away from a time whereby, okay, we're asking children, what do you want to be in the future? And they're always in the answer. Say, oh, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer. I mean, I would say I'm a product of that kind of like environment in my house. But I think by fourth year, it became quite clear to me that I'm not really, I mean, there are lawyers that are paid way less than I am right now, like far less. And they spend more time in school. They spent more hours on studying than I have. And the truth is that because of my affinity for technology and the ability for me to take a lot of data, analyze it, manipulate it, represent it efficiently, and we have seen that, look, I can basically interpret it out, mince it down into small bits for companies. It's becoming like, it's a skill that is in vogue right now, right? So it's because of the technology that's been applied nowadays, even in law firms, even in hospitals, like she's mentioned, everywhere you go, down to just buying and selling, there's one technology that is being applied or the other. So as an employee, you need to be able to understand these things, manage these things, use these things, manipulate these things, and get the best result in the best possible time that's available to you. For employers, what will employees expect from employers? Well, because we are looking at the future whereby, like she said, or like the Union Bank is doing, or many companies are doing, virtualization will be the key. There needs to be a streamlining of information dispensation. Information sharing of communication efficiency is going to be either make or break companies in the future, right? The ability to get information from one point to the other, the ability to get to transmit work schedules, to transmit deadlines to your employees, to be able to analyze ensuring that you're using the fastest internet connections possible, that your communication highways, there's no breakage, it's seamless, it's well organized, it's well streamlined for the highest possible efficiency. That is what employers will be saddled upon, with the responsibility that employers will be saddled upon. So that, of course, and to be able to analyze the data they are getting from their staff, right? So the staff, we see in a future whereby staff will be, due to their day-to-day activities, will be generating a lot of data, generating a lot of things that will be useful for the company. And employees need to be able to understand, have the skills and the wherewithal to be able to analyze the data and apply it to their business processes to ensure that they are in the right path, financially, operationally, and technologically wise. So that's what I think from both sides we should be expecting from employers and employees in the future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Edwin. I think the part that hit me the most when you said there's no place to hide. So thank you very much. So we'll go to the next question. And Lola, this question goes to you. This new technology that we've spoken of and all the things that's come to mainstream now is beginning to build into a new trend. New trends such as work from home, informal workers, and even shared spaces. Omowale mentioned it. The question is, what impact does this then have on employee productivity? Or, what then does the workplace look like? I just want you to speak to that. I know you have a lot to say.
Thank you, Seun. Thank you, Seun. I think, and maybe I will use Union Bank as an example, because I think in many ways we are reflective of what we're seeing from organizations like ourselves. Having people work remotely is what we expect the trend to be. There are many teams today in the bank that are not customer-facing, and even in some cases where you're customer-facing, as long as you have a laptop and you're connected to the main system, you're able to do your work. The comment made by Edwin, the fact that you can't hide, is essentially the truth. If you have your set targets and metrics, and everyone has the tools that they're supposed to have and they have the data, there's nothing that stops anyone from working remotely. Today at the bank, we have what we call flexi work. And because we're a bank with almost 300 sales and service centers, you expect that while we have the head office in Marina, everyone given Lagos, and there was a discussion earlier today about Lagos and traffic, if it takes 2 hours or 3 hours to come to work every day, and yet you can go to the nearest branch or work remotely from home, and you're able to do the work that you would ordinarily in a physical location, there is no reason why you can't do that. That's one of the reasons why we've invested in technology and will continue to do that. I think the other reason and the other driver for why future of work even changes is that even our customers today are more empowered. Technology has empowered customers. So there might have been a time where you would see a lot of branches, but in certain locations where customers have everything they can do on an app, on their phone, or they can use USSD in the case of a bank, then why would they come into a banking hall for any reason? And so that means that ordinarily for those tellers or people who would work in a banking hall, their jobs and what they'll be doing will be slightly different. It might be that you're coming in to do more complex transactions, and instead of spending time collecting cash, when customers today can transfer money, they're no longer collecting cash, but they're dealing with you on maybe you need to buy an investment, maybe you need to set up a trust or an estate. That's what would happen with technology and the future of work. So people will work remotely depending on what jobs they have to do. And for those who can't work remotely, even then the work that you do in a physical space is also very different. I would use the time to even talk in specific details, because I heard Omowale saying, yes, there'll be less jobs in some ways. But I would also say that maybe part of it is that what you do today, and I think you alluded to this, will also be different. So today you have, and I'll give a perfect example. We at the bank have implemented robotics. So what does robotics mean? It means that if there's an ATM today, what would happen is you have to wait a specific time in the point of day to download and reconcile the ATMs. And you would need either somebody behind the scenes to go and download all the transactions, and also sometimes physically count cash. Now you don't have to do that, because there's a virtual robot who behind the scenes takes all of that data very quickly in less than an hour, reconciles that ATM, and the ATM is back up and running. So it means that really what the ATM custodians and the people looking after the channels are watching is whether the uptime of that ATM is back up and running within a certain time, but they don't have to physically run from one ATM or the other to say whether the ATM is operational, whether it's down, whether it's out of cash, because you have all of the technology and the data. So when you think about the skills in an environment, today and even tomorrow, a lot of the skills is around how do I take the data and the insight and the intelligence and make effective decisions. You're no longer required, and you don't need the skills to do all the analysis yourself. It's really taking the intelligence that you're getting, because there are models that will be telling you exactly what the correlation is between X and Y. But it's really now, what do I do with that information? Now that I know that X and Y are positively correlated, what do I then do? Do I go out and sell X to a customer? Do I position to market a certain way? All that information leads us to decision making. So if you think about the skills in the workplace, beyond the setup of the environment, but knowing the consumers out there, whether you're a teacher, you're a student, understanding how they behave will also dictate the types of talent that you have in the workplace and how you structure your workforce, your workplace to deal with the talent that's coming in.
Thanks a lot, Lola. I mean, I like the way you put it. So maybe a couple of people that heard about extinction will now have hope that and I guess the good thing about the way you put it is really we have to start thinking about what skills do we brush up on, or do we even start to acquire and develop. And Peace, I'm going to come to you with this question. You've done a lot of work in the educational sector, so I'm going to pivot from that into what kind of skills should we be looking at in our curriculum? What should policy be like? So I know you've done a lot of work in that area. So the question becomes, as work transitions from traditional to automated, how should things look like from the skills point of view and from education?
All right, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you to Union Bank for this opportunity. I do not take it for granted, and I'm very privileged to be here. Now, I am an education consultant, so I'm going to be speaking specifically for the educational sector, talking about schools and classrooms. How many teachers do we have here? We have teachers, lots of teachers. Okay, so most of the work I've done past several years now has been in the educational sector. So first of all, it's important for us to know that the document and the reports, there are two reports that gives us a clear idea of what the future of work looks like. And the first one is the Future of Jobs report, published in 2018 by the World Economic Forum. And then the second one is the one that was mentioned earlier. That's by the Passion Incubator. That's the Future of Work report in Nigeria. Now, I encourage us all to study these two reports to have a thorough understanding of the future of work generally. Now, in these two documents agree that with the with the rise of technology such as artificial intelligence, there's going to be also a significant rise in what is called soft skills. If you look at those two documents agree on that particular fact. So usually I like to say that the future of workplace is a coin with two sides. One side is hard skills and the other side is soft skills. Now, particularly in the educational sector, if you look at the hard skills, and this is very important for teachers in the house, what is changing? First of all, and this speaks to the question about policy, first thing we need to begin to look at is teachers, schools, the government, we need to begin to look at different forms of learning. Learning that is unique, learning that is authentic, and learning that is innovative. And I'm here to recommend 4 types of learning, and that is happening across the different parts of the world right now. 4 different kinds of learning that is very important for you to begin to incorporate these things in your school. 2 of those kind of learning speaks to hard skills, and then the 2 others speaks to soft skills. Let's start with hard skills. In hard skills, there's what we call machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence that programs computers to identify patterns in data, to inform algorithms so that data-driven decisions can be made. What does that mean? It means I sound like I've spoken a lot of English. Now, in the educational sector, machine learning is changing everything. I'm sure many of the teachers here will agree with me that they want to stop writing lesson notes. Yeah? You want to stop? And that is what machine learning does. First of all, content analytics. Content analytics is an aspect of machine learning that helps you to organize and streamline your content. So you don't necessarily have to keep writing your lesson notes over and over again. That's content. There's also learning analytics. You're able to track the knowledge of your student over time and also make recommendations for that particular student. And then another part is the grading. And most of the laborious, repetitive tasks, such as marking script, lot of script, that is what machine learning is doing. So machine learning is an aspect of learning. The second aspect of learning under hard skills is adaptive learning. What is adaptive learning? Adaptive learning simply uses computer algorithms to orchestrate a kind of platform for learners. So it takes completely the role of a teacher, it removes the role of a teacher. And what that does, what these two things do, is to help limit the role of a teacher in the classroom and helps you to be able to focus on other aspects. So those 2 types of learning are under hard skills. But let's move on to the other aspect, because in those 2 documents that I cited, one thing is very important. The role of a teacher cannot be substituted by technology. Educational technology should be used to support the role of teachers in the classroom and not to supplant it. Technology in the classroom usually is used to assist, to augment, and also to streamline the traditional processes of the classroom without causing disruption. That is where soft skills come in. Because as we're talking about artificial intelligence, there's what we call emotional intelligence. That is why it is called artificial. It is artificial. You need the human element, and that's why we have emotional intelligence. So what these soft skills, these 2 kinds of learning will help you in your classroom as a teacher develop soft skills in your children, in your students. The first one is called project-based learning. What is project-based learning? Simply means that students collaborate, they work together to solve a real-world problem. They solve a real-world problem in their community and in their society, and it helps them to develop collaborative skills, creativity skills, critical thinking, problem solving. And then the other kind of learning is what we call, the first one is project-based learning, and the second one is called place-based learning. What happens is that schools partner with companies such as Union Bank and other banks. They partner with companies or local experts so that they can expose students to practicalizing what they have learned in the classroom. Now, I put it to you that if we are not looking and exploring these 4 forms of learning, machine learning, adaptive learning, what did I mention again? Project-based learning, and then the third one is what? The fourth one is what? Place-based learning. We are not starting. That's one of the policies. The second policy is soft skills, which is my area of expertise. Now, earlier on, we had somebody from the VP, a representative of VP, Mr. Ife Adebayo, special assistant to the VP on innovation. He came and talked to us extensively about what is happening in innovating digital literacy. He spoke extensively about the plans they have to formalize the digital literacy across different schools. Now, my problem is that we don't have enough conversations going on about soft skills. Digital literacy speaks mostly to hard skills. we need to begin to look at soft skills, which was why I organized a conference last month. About over 300, some people here attended. Over 300 educators attended the conference. And the conference is soft skills conference for educators. What did we talk about? We talked about emotional intelligence for educators. We talked about creativity, how you can be a creative teacher, how you can be an innovative teacher, social intelligence. Because machines are coming, quite all right, but your role as a teacher cannot be supplanted. It should be supported by machines, okay? So very important. And which was why I also wrote a book. And you can go out there, the book is available. This book is titled The Missing Link of Education, simply about soft skills. Earlier on in the year, LinkedIn brought out a research that there are 5 skills right now that companies all over are looking for. Number 1 is creativity, collaboration, persuasion, time management, and in 5 of them. I saw that research and I was so motivated because I wanted to help teachers. So I wrote a book on it. So this book titled The Missing Link of Education is about soft skills. As you are developing digital literacy, I watched an interview earlier on, an 11-year-old child building apps, and then his father discovered that skill, had to send him to a coding camp. Now my question is, do we have a school, a soft skills school for children? Do we have something like that, which is something my organization is working on? We are developing a curriculum on soft skills. And that is why partners like Union Bank, all these things, they need to, for example, this book, all secondary school teachers need to have this book.
Peace, thanks a lot.
So those are the policies we are looking at.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Peace. I could not stop him. Wow. We've just totally released you. I love the passion and I love the way you put it all. I think one thing that's stuck in my head are the 4 forms of learning. And I think with that, we have seriously dealt with this matter. We couldn't have found a better person. What do you guys think? Another round of applause for Peace. Okay, so with that, we've really dealt with it in a rounded way. We've looked at workplace, we've looked at what should happen from a skills-based point of view, and the fact that employers now would have a situation where employees will have no place to hide. And we've finally, like we just mentioned, we've learned the 4 ways of learning. I'd like to say a big thank you to my panelists for their insights and all the things they brought from industry. Another round of applause for our panelists, please. And also, will we have time for Q&A? Okay, so we've spent a lot of time. Of course, I would encourage us to meet with the panelists after this and ask our questions directly. But with that, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of you. The participation has been good. A round of applause, please. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you.